What's up, guys? This is Lucid Rain, and today we are basically just going to talk about our paranormal and things of the like experiences that we have personally experienced. Maybe some people we know and stuff like that too. So yeah, I guess I'll just hop right into one of mine. So, oh, and we're basically going to go back and forth. Like I'll do an experience, and Chris will do one, and so on. So yeah, but. So the one I wanted to start with was this happened like around when I first got my dog that I have now, which was like four or so years ago. This was around when I first got her, which may have contributed to this being a thing. But I was walking her at night, my dog, and she kept looking behind me, and like, you know, before you say, oh, yeah, that's just dog behavior, she's never done this ever again. And at that time, she kept looking behind me and then running around me and literally like wrapping the leash around me. And then she would just dart off like super far away. And I walked around the corner, literally around the corner, and she was still doing it. So like, it was as if something was like following me, is how I took that. And I thought it was weird because she had never acted that way ever again. So I didn't see anything, but I sure felt weird. But you could say that's just because of how she was acting, why I felt weird. But yeah, that was fucking weird because she had never done that ever again.
So what do you think it was?
I don't know. It was as if like some energy was following me that I was oblivious to, and she wasn't. So that's how I kind of took it. It was really weird, and it didn't help that it was at nighttime and it's dark out. So I was kind of getting creeped out, and I was just like, I'm going home. I walked around the corner. That happened the whole walk, so and she's barking. Yeah, so I just went home.
I can do mine. One thing that happens semi-frequently, and I would call it paranormal experience, is walking around at night and streetlights turning off when you approach them and start walking towards them. They tend to turn off. I mean, it's not every single one, but it tends to feels like it happens frequently.
That has happened to me more than once.
It's not an every time thing, but it'll be bright, and then I'll start walking up towards it, and then it will go dark.
You know, it's fucking weird.
It happens somewhat frequently. I'm not gonna say every time, but like every time I go for a walk, I notice it happen at least once. Most of the time.
Is it like right when you're around it, or just?
Yeah.
Yeah, that has happened to me.
It's something I usually ignore or don't even think about, but like yesterday it even happened to where I started thinking about how many times has this happened. Then you start thinking about all the times you're walking around at night, and then I'm like, okay, so this has happened a couple of times.
It's weird.
It's
really
than
weird.
A couple.
Cause like when it happened, that's happened to me 2 or 3 times, and it was the same light. It was literally the same one, all 2 or 3 times. That's what's really strange about when that happened to me. And what's also kind of a weird little coincidence, where that light is that shut off on me 3 times after I walked under it, that light, only that one was removed and replaced with a driveway. Only that one. So I just thought that was a weird little coincidence that creepy ass light is the only one that gets moved.
Yeah, I think maybe that one sounds like a faulty light, but I don't know. I don't know if it makes it more perplexing or less perplexing that it was the same light. Because I feel like
it was
maybe there was something wrong with the light, but at the same time, like what I'm saying is maybe it was just coincidence and happenstance.
It could have been, yeah. But that's just for it to happen so many times. Not that it's a crazy amount of times. It was like 2 or 3 times, but the fact that it happened more than once. When it happened to me the second time, I got like an irrational paranoia. I don't know why, because I don't usually get scared of stuff like that, and I wouldn't think I would, but for some reason the second time, I just got like, I felt like I needed to leave. I don't know, that was a really strange feeling. I haven't felt that way like in a long time, but
one thing that I could propose for maybe what it is electromagnetic current. Because like when you
like
think of
from
the
us
paranormal,
to the light,
yeah.
or that,
When you
yeah,
think of
maybe that would
like
make sense.
when you think of stuff like ESP, anything where to deal with like anything like psychic related or like Esper related, it's electromagnetic, frequencies, and really pretty much all paranormal. Look, we have electrometers, right, for the EVP. That's like electric voice phenomena, right?
Yeah.
Electricity is like such a big part of that.
Yeah, that is true.
And really, like, our heartbeat has electromagnetic pulses. So like really electricity kind of just runs through us in one way or another.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, there could be a correlation between that and like lights turning off, since we do have a current like in us. So I guess there could be some correlation there.
I mean, I'm just proposing that as a potential reason.
Yeah,
Obviously, I don't
that's the
have
only
anything.
thing I can
I
think
don't
of.
have anything to substantiate that.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I mean,
do I
that's the
really
only
need to?
explanation I can think of. Um, so I guess I'll go. So this one's really creepy. When I was a kid, my PlayStation and TV and stuff was in the living room. So it's a really big room, and I'm right next to the wall, where at the time, and I heard breathing in the wall next to me, and that doesn't make any sense because there's no space next to that wall. Like there's nothing there. There's nowhere, like no one could be there, is what I'm trying to say. And I heard breathing, like I heard someone inhaling and exhaling, and I flipped out. Like, and I told my parents too, and like they of course didn't believe me, and I was losing my mind. I didn't even want to be down there that night. It was really weird. It was a very clear, like, I mean, maybe pipes or something, possibly, but it sounded like human breathing. So that was really, really strange. And like I was trying to rationalize it in any way I could back then, and like I could not think of a reason I would be hearing what I was hearing. So,
Yeah,
and it
that's definitely creepy.
and it was weird because it was coming from a very specific part of the wall. So if I feel like if it was, I'm not saying it's not, absolutely not, but I feel like if it was a hallucination, for example, or some auditory hallucination or something, I feel like it wouldn't be coming from a very specific spot. Like I feel like I would just hear it. Like I don't know. It was like it had proximity to it. Like I knew where it was coming from, so that made it weirder, in my opinion.
Yeah, I have one somewhat similar to that, I would say. But I have a couple more questions. So what exactly you heard breathing, right?
Yeah,
Like
like
what kind of breathing? Was it like regular breathing?
it was
Like
like
panting?
not panting. It was kind of someone just like basically normal breathing. Like if you just say you just recorded the average person breathing, they weren't like necessarily tired or fatigued. That's what it sounded like, just someone inhaling then exhaling, and then I never heard it ever again. Like that was the only time I heard it. So I'm thinking pipes maybe, but like that doesn't hold up that well because it, like, breathing has a distinct sound. I guess it could be mistaken for something else, but that's what I heard.
Yeah, that's definitely unsettling.
Yeah, very creepy. I didn't even want to be down there I'm not in there anymore, that room, but I I didn't want to be in that room anymore after that. That's not why I moved, but still.
You know, it's pretty crazy to think about this fact is once you have an experience somewhere, that like follows you around, and every time you go to that place, your mind instantly drifts to that.
Yeah, you immediately think of that experience again, which sucks because you don't want to remember these most of the time.
Yeah, I think that's a crazy thing. Like, just the notion of that is kind of like, wow, this is ruining this place for me.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I never felt there's been a lot of weird stuff happening here, but I've never felt like there was a presence here really or anything like that, because people say like you can tell, you can feel a presence if there's like a poltergeist or something. I never felt like that, like literally ever. So, but maybe I'm oblivious to it, I don't know.
Well, who knows what it is? I mean,
Yeah, who knows? I mean, that
it could have
particular
just been a blip in reality, you know? Like, that's one thing that I think, like, when we think of paranormal, we don't give enough credit is like time slips and kind of different things clipping into reality when they're
yeah.
not really there. I mean, what if majority of ghost encounters is actually you basically seeing the imprint of someone in a different reality?
Yeah, like a different
Clipping in.
parallel dimension or something.
Yeah, and that's just kind of what it is. It could be something entirely different, just clipping into life.
I would believe it if someone who had all the answers, like say God told you that. God said, yeah, that's what that is. That's the explanation for ghosts. I would be like, that makes sense. I believe it.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, if you want to try and make the paranormal more logic based, but even then, it's like, where does paranormal, like, how do we break that down? And like, what makes something paranormal? What are the ideals there? You know, like, there's a
Yeah.
lot of questions.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'd say it's clear that there is like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, there are entities that we can't necessarily capture, unless we have like, the EVPs and all that shit. But we can't just sit there and talk face to face with these entities, is what I'm trying to say. And those entities exist. I think that's clear. I mean, of course, there's skeptics, of course. But
I mean, and it depends on even how we classify these things, because like, this is gonna go off subject for a second, but it'll come back around too. Something like DMT entities, where you take a substance and
yeah,
you're basically seeing all these different creatures. I mean, is that paranormal?
I've always
Like,
wondered about that. Like,
is that different than seeing something? Because is it matter if you're in an altered state, or what matters?
I'm thinking like, obviously I don't have the answers, but like I'm thinking if you are in the altered state, it's just easier to see their like whatever realm that they're in. That's what I was thinking. But I could be way off. We'll never know. So
Yeah, if I had to make a hypothesis, that's probably what I would say. Majority of ghosts, not everything, but I would say majority is just things that are indifferent. And with time not really being linear, it could even be like stuff from the past, literally clipping in.
yeah, that's true.
Because the present and the past technically exist at the same time, because it's not a linear thing.
Right.
It would make sense that parts of the past just randomly show up at times.
Yeah, that's been a theory that kind of off topic, but that's been a theory that time isn't linear, and it's kind of a constant thing. So, I mean, yeah, who knows really? I mean, you see, in terms of the stuff from the past, I mean, isn't that literally the concept of ghosts? People that used to be alive and aren't anymore. Like, that's pretty much what that is. So, but yeah, you can do yours whenever.
Yeah, time is definitely a crazy concept to get into. But
Yeah.
I have a similar one. So I used to always hear voices through the vents in my bedroom as a kid.
Oh God.
And it was something that like made me pretty paranoid of
Like specifically in the vents, nowhere else.
well, that's just where I thought I heard them coming from. And like, you know, thinking about it as an adult, maybe it's kind of like it could have been someone outside, but I don't think so. And it's like it
I
could have
wouldn't
been
assume
someone
so.
in the basement, but then again, no one should have been in the basement. So like it was always something that scared the shit out of me.
Yeah,
So
that
it kind
is
of ruined
actually really creepy.
it ruined that room and it ruined the basement
Did it
pretty
sound
much.
like did it sound like one voice or was it
Sounded
multiple voices?
it sounded like two people having a conversation, like somewhat
What the
usual.
fuck?
Usually it was two voices. I feel like
That's super weird.
yeah, so that was kind of how that was, and it was not much fun.
Yeah,
And
that's really
like how
creepy.
you said, hearing voices in the walls or breathing, it really was something that kind of scared me because I, slept with my bed up against the wall, and I was so afraid to sleep facing towards the wall, and I was afraid to sleep with my ear towards the wall because I was so afraid that if I was laying with my ear against the wall, I would hear something in there.
Yeah.
And there was one side of the room I didn't like sleeping on, which was underneath the vent. Like I didn't like sleeping there. And then I moved to a different room later down the line and had no problems at all.
Like
So
you moved rooms or moved houses?
moved rooms.
Oh, okay. So you never heard that again.
No, I mean I heard it more than once, I feel like.
Yeah, that is super creepy.
And it would be all hours. And that's like one of those things I kind of like thinking back. It's like, was I actually hearing stuff or what? Or
Yeah,
like, was I just
I don't know.
imagining it all? It's
Yeah,
kind of
I mean,
like,
how were you like a kid with like, like an overactive imagination or something like that? I don't know. I mean, that's always what they say.
yeah,
So
I
like,
don't know though.
I feel like, if it's something you remember from so long ago and it stuck with you, I don't think that would be something you just imagine personally. Because they say kids have a very powerful imagination and things can seem real to kids, but like I don't know, if something sticks with you for that long, I feel like it's past that, but I don't know. Cuz like, how I don't know if this, how dreams are like they're hazy and hard to remember cuz your brain is like uh trying to not let you confuse it with reality. Like that's the reason. Um I don't know if that applies to like stuff you imagine, right? Like say you have an imaginary friend as a kid or something. Uh would you like young kid, would you remember that at like as an adult, I wonder? Like I wonder if that would be like a hazy, blurry thought that's like hard to remember.
I don't know. It's kind of like, what's the difference between imagining something and, because if you're imagining something, they call that daydreaming, right?
Pretty much. Yeah, I guess. Cuz like you
So
are awake.
where do
You
you
are awake, but
differentiate?
yeah, you are awake, but you're not. It's still coming from your head. So I don't know. I don't know if there's a difference there or not. Really, that's a weird thing.
Yeah, so I don't really know. I think it's kind of like I have plenty of memories where I'm kind of like, did this happen? And it's kind of like when when does a memory and a dream, like when those get confused, what exactly do you do? How in the world do you differentiate?
Yeah, I don't know, cause like, it seems like once enough time has passed and you can't like, you're just thinking back on it like, hey, what was that? It can be really hard to, if to tell if it's a hazy memory or a hazy dream.
Yeah, I don't know. It's fucking wild, man. But you can go.
All right. So this one's extremely weird and could be not paranormal at all. I'm not. I really don't know. It could have been like. I'll just go. I'll just get into it instead of doing this. So I, my dog starts barking at the door, like as if someone's there, right? And I was walking to the door, and I didn't hear the door open, but I heard someone. My dog stopped barking, and then started again, and then I heard someone go like shush, like they did a shush, like to be quiet. I assumed talking to my dog, so I was freaking out. I was like, am I gonna have to like fight someone right now? Like, did someone just break into my house? I was honestly thinking that, and uh, I waited a long time. My dog's still up there at the door, like around the corner. I couldn't see the person because they were around the corner, and I didn't want to see the person. So I had to have waited like 15 minutes before I actually went to check because I didn't hear the door open or close. So I was like, I assumed that person was still there. So I finally got the courage to walk up there, and no one's there. Door's closed, and my dog's not even interested in the door anymore. So that was extremely weird. I don't know what that was. Like that, it could have been not paranormal at all. I'm saying like that could have easily been someone actually trying to get into my house, but I did not hear the door, and I have a very loud door. Not loud, but it's like
Was it the front door?
Yes, it was.
Could it have been someone literally on your porch that was literally like telling your dog shh because they were trying to get into your?
I wouldn't hear them though. It's a really like if they were just saying shush, they would have to say it. They would have to be saying that so loudly that I would hear it from the inside of the house when they were outside, and it's a thick door, and I can't even hear people talking on the other side. So like they'd have to be saying shush like really loudly, and plus it sounded like they were in, like it literally sounded like they were on my porch. So that was just really
they very
strange.
well could have just been on your porch, right outside your door.
They could have been
looking at your house, trying to break in, and so I don't. It kind of reminds me of the story of everyone knows Candyman in this, but most people don't know the story that's actually like it's based on, and it was basically in Chicago. There was a housing project. I think it was called Love Hewitt, maybe. But there was a void space behind the mirrors in the bathrooms. So basically, people would be in that void space, running back and forth, breaking into apartments and stealing shit.
Oh, wow. What were they like? So they were essentially in the walls.
Yeah, they were in the walls. And this lady kept hearing stuff and thought she was kind of going crazy. She called the police. Every time she would stare at the mirror and like do positive affirmations or something, and she would hear stuff. And then one night someone actually went outside of her mirror, like came out of her mirror, and they killed her.
Wow.
And she called the police, and it probably happened while police were there. And it was like
wow,
a whole crazy situation, and they found out what was going on and how everything's been happening. And
that's insane. Yeah, I've never heard that before. All right, so this one happened recently. There's a shelf in my laundry room. It's not really it's part of the shelf is part of the wall. So like it can't fall or break off. It's literally the wall, and we're sitting stuff. That sounds weird, but we're sitting stuff on top of it, just like as storage. It's been there for years, and it all just like collapsed and went everywhere, and like it's literally been there for so long. And the shelf was fine; it didn't move or anything. And what's weird is there was we we had some of the stuff from up there was literally like across the room, and some of that stuff was heavy. So like a golf club, for example, was literally like somehow across the. It's not a huge room or anything, but it was still weird that it was across the room, and I don't know how it got there. So that stuff that had been there for literally years just suddenly collapsed. And I was thinking it was my cats, but because they do that, but they were in my room when that. Actually, no, one was in my room and the other one was in the kitchen. So, which I can see from my room. So, yeah, that was just strange. It could have been, could have been whatever, but I heard this happen, and then I walked in and saw the aftermath of it. So I didn't see it happen, but yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah, that is crazy. I've heard a bunch of stories of like just cabinet doors opening and everything getting thrown out and just different shit like that, and
Yeah.
things like certain items falling off of shelves repeatedly.
It's always weird little stuff like that. Like, I mean, this particular one's not really little, but because it was a lot of stuff, but it's usually small stuff that you can just barely rationalize, if that makes sense. So it's small enough that you can be like, all right, that makes sense to happen. It's rare for me that it surpasses that, but like this time it might have. All right, you can go.
All right, so connected to yours, basically, your last one. One time I was in a room, I had like one of the miniature basketball hoops that goes on the on a door.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm playing in there, and I have a little bit bigger ball that actually fits it fits the way it should, essentially. Whereas the usual ball they give you is really small.
Yeah, right.
So I'm shooting around with it. I shoot it, and I shit you not, it got blocked in midair by nothing, and got hit and went the opposite direction. And I was like, I'm 100% sure it happened. And I was just sitting there. I remember just running out that room, like,
what the fuck, bro?
What the fuck?
That is.
And that's kind of. It only happened that one time, but it scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, it is. That's really creepy. You had a NBA ghost apparently.
I know, and it was super crazy, and I don't know. It was wild to me.
Yeah, that is. I would run out the room too, probably. I mean, and if it definitely didn't it didn't hit the board at all. Like it didn't hit the hoop.
I'm like pretty certain it didn't.
That's fucking weird.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's kind of like, I don't know, maybe it hit the wall somehow, but I don't think it did.
I mean, you wouldn't have run out the room if it hit the wall, right? Like,
exactly.
I mean, if something wasn't amiss, you wouldn't have reacted the way you did, is how I see it. I don't think there's any like weird like brain tricks going on there, but I mean, I don't know. That's a really weird thing.
Yeah, it's
that's what I'm saying. Like, it's always like these one-off things that happen, and then nothing else will happen for like years on end. At least for me, like, and then something else weird will happen. It's as if, like, I don't know. It's like it takes breaks or something.
Yeah, that's pretty. It was pretty wild, but you can go on with yours.
All right, so this is the ghost cat story, is what I'm gonna call it. So I was like, how do I explain it? I was like about to be awake, but I wasn't. Like my eyes were closed, but I was conscious. Is how I could, like when you're like about to wake up.
So maybe I was like dreaming this, but I don't think I was. So I was in that state, and I not heard, uh, I felt my cat like touch my nose and like multiple times, like just like, and I also felt his footsteps on my bed and my room. I don't let them in there, my room ever, literally ever. So my first thought was, oh my god, he's been trapped in my room all night and he probably shit on my floor. That was my first thought. I was like, oh no, this is not good. So feel him walking on my bed, hear him touch my face, and open my eyes. He's gone. He's not gone, but he was never there. He wasn't in my room at all. Period. I looked everywhere. He wasn't in there. And my room is not very big. There's not many places for him to hide. So like, he was just nowhere to be found. So you could say I was still dreaming, like I wasn't quite like conscious, like awake, but I definitely felt like I was.
Yeah, that's kind of I guess kind of crazy because you do hear stories of like ghost animals.
Yeah, and
It's
you know
like,
what's weird? This happened like not too long after my one cat died. So I'm not saying that's directly correlated, but like it's weird that that's around when it happens. And yeah, I do see the ghost animals thing. I've seen, you know, those videos where like they have a balloon in a room and like they have a pet that recently passed away, and they'll call the animal and the balloon will fly over to them and the balloon will literally like follow them around corners and like around the house. It's pretty crazy. I don't know if they're fabricated, but like it's those videos are insane. I've seen them multiple times. And it kind of makes me think like, what maybe your animals don't really pass on like that. Like maybe they kind of just stick around wherever they pass at or something like that.
yeah, it's one of those things. I feel like ghost dogs. When I think ghost dogs, I think because of like video games and horror and all that stuff. I think of like the Black Shook or like hellhounds, demon dogs.
Yeah.
You know, like think about the black dog phenomena.
Yeah. Hell, I mean, most of these, you know, urban legend type animals, like I'm mostly thinking of dogs right now. Most of those are pretty malevolent in nature, like the stories about them. So I don't take, like, I don't know if you could take those as the same thing as like, you know, the sticking around of a previous pet or something. Cause I mean,
Yeah,
those stories are weird.
it's one crazy thing, to be honest with you. To think about folklore and how how I would consider like the folklore or the paranormal.
Yeah.
Like in most cases.
Yeah,
I think those
mostly.
like and folklore had to come from somewhere. Think about like all the stories of demon foxes and like different animals that are kind of are more or less spirits, and just kind of how prevalent that is in a lot of folklore. And like I've been playing the God of War franchise, and the two dogs that chase the sun to make night, or I'm pretty sure that's how that goes. And then Romulus and Remus, and kind of just like you have the wolf, you have the fox, you have the the raven. Like those are just animals that continuously pop up in folklore. I can move on to mine if you don't have anything more to say about that.
Yeah, you could do yours.
So mine's kind of a two-parter. So it's in the house that I grew up in. Or like that I grew up in when I was real young. I have one memory that's kind of like felt like a astral projection or like an out-of-body experience, and I was just sitting in front of a TV with static, watching myself sit in a room with like broken Power Ranger toys, and me sitting in front of a TV that was just static, with like my legs crossed Indian style and like just looking straight ahead, and it feels like it was, and
That's weird that you. Sorry, I'm just gonna say this really quick. That's weird that you said like legs cross Indian style, because I was thinking that before you even said that. Like that's just what came to mind for some reason. But yeah, go ahead.
and it might have been because like one of the most iconic movie covers of all time is the Poltergeist, and it has a kid sitting Indian style in front of a static TV, and I just so happen to have that, and it's like I don't think it's a dream because I remember it so clearly happening.
Yeah. So you said you saw yourself like in like.
Yeah, like in third person view, pretty much.
Okay. Yeah, that is weird. That's odd. You said it. So this is just like a memory, or a dream, or you don't know, I guess.
No, it did not feel like a dream at all.
Okay.
It felt like reality.
So I assume this was when you were a kid, right? You weren't like seeing
No,
yourself
I was
as
a
a kid.
little kid.
Okay.
No, I was a little kid when this happened. Like,
Okay.
I remember it. It's one of the only memories that I have from around that age. Like, I was probably like 3 or 4.
Oh, okay. So there's zero chance you've seen Poltergeist by then, I assume.
No, there's no way that I saw that movie at that time. Because I was living at my grandparents' house. And unless my uncles or aunts, but like played it in their rooms, which I think my uncle had a TV downstairs. I don't know about my aunt's rooms. I don't really remember where my aunts slept. But it was me and my mom in a room.
So someone else was there with you?
But she wasn't in the room at the time.
Oh, okay. Was there anything
and I kind of remember seeing her enter the room, and then like it kind of stops there.
Was there anything like off about it that could make it seem like it was possibly a dream? Like, was there something in it that didn't make sense or anything like that?
No.
So it was just straight up like a snippet of your life, basically. Yeah, that's a weird. That's fucking weird. I don't think I've ever had anything that similar, honestly. Like an outer body experience type thing. That is weird. And if nothing was like out of the ordinary, besides obviously the static TV, if nothing was like blatantly out of the ordinary, then like, I mean, who knows? Maybe it wasn't a dream or anything. Maybe that wasn't you. Like, I don't know how this would happen, but maybe you like accidentally astral projected or something, and just had like an out of body experience.
And what's crazy is, I mean, I've been pretty heavily looking into astral projection, and you know, I find it fascinating, and I've kind of like I'm not doing a very good job of it, but kind of training myself to astral project somewhat.
Wait, so let me ask you this: have you read anything about people doing it by accident ever?
Yeah, it happens all the time.
I mean, maybe that's what happened.
If
that's a thing, then
I'm pretty sure there are 4 types of astral projection, essentially. One of them is when you do it on accident. One is when you do it on purpose. And the other 2 were kind of like weird specifications that like don't really make that much sense to me, because I don't know enough about them.
Okay. I kind of believe in that kind of stuff personally, so I feel like maybe like that's what could have happened, is that you did it by accident.
And it was such a creepy sight for me sitting in front of the TV and it being static and just like seeing Power Ranger toys all over the place.
Yeah, I mean that sounds kind of. Was this in daytime, nighttime, like when?
Well, it was a dark room, so I mean, it was either a room with the lights off and curtains up, which even then that would be more light out. So I'm pretty sure it was nighttime.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of believe in that kind of stuff, so I feel like maybe that's what could have happened. But a skeptic would tell you it's a fucking dream. So, and I am a skeptic to some extent. I think everyone is, but like,
Yeah, and I mean that house has it. So there's another one from that house that I've talked about on the podcast probably 4 or 5 times.
I guess we're doing it again.
Is so in the basement. So how that house was set up, it was an awesome house. There was 4 bedrooms and a bathroom upstairs. Then on the living room and on the main floor, you had a full living room that was an addition onto the house. So it was like a huge room add-on that had a deck that led to a pool in the backyard. Then it had a like foyer, a little computer room off of that, a full dining room, full kitchen, and then in the basement there was a pantry, I don't really know if it was a pantry or not. It was like a room basically tucked away, kind of like a closet or like storage room or something like that.
Okay.
Then there was like a laundry room. Then there was one giant room that was turned into 2 different bedrooms.
Okay.
And then a garage. So I had dreams. I'm pretty sure they were dreams where I would go in the basement and I would open the door to that like storage room, and it was like that was like the unfinished part of the basement, and it was concrete floor there, and I'd open it up and there'd be a green portal, like where the door is or inside of it or something like it. I just remember a very vivid green portal.
I remember you saying that, and the first thing that comes to mind is the Rick and Morty portal.
I know, and I've talked. We can look. I'm pretty sure I've talked about it before Rick and Morty was even a thing.
I think you have. I'm pretty sure I remember you saying that story before Rick and Morty became a thing. But first, let me look up when Rick and Morty came out because I'm curious now.
I mean, I have artwork with the green portal. Probably dating back to like 2018, maybe. I would have to look.
Rick and Morty came out in 2013, supposedly. That sounds wrong, man. But if Google's saying that's when it came out, I guess it's right. That sounds weird though, because I thought Rick and Morty wasn't that old, but I guess it is. That's interesting. But yeah, I do remember you talking about the portal, and like immediately I thought of Rick and Morty.
Yeah, which I mean, it doesn't really matter. If it happened before Rick and Morty, I guess
it doesn't. It's not like, I mean, I'm doubting
they have nothing to do with each other.
Yeah, I don't even remember you saying you watched or liked Rick and Morty at the time. So.
Yeah, I've seen it, but I mean that's within the past 2 or 3 years.
Right. Yeah.
When I've watched it. So.
Did it look like that portal though? Kinda, roughly.
I mean, like, kind of what's kind of crazy is like, it kind of looked like the portal in Billy and Mandy opening.
I think I remember that. Yeah. I do remember the portal from Billy and Mandy.
But I mean, I remember having this dream as a kid, and it's like one of the only reoccurring dreams that I've had.
Oh, okay. I was about to ask you if you've had it more than once. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I've had recurring dreams, but I can't think of one right now. But yeah, that's really weird, and I'm sure that made it that probably made you feel weird about that area in general, I'd assume.
Yeah, and I mean, since then, my grandparents, probably 12, 13 years ago, sold that house. So maybe even a little longer. So now I've been alive I haven't had, at this point, I've not been in that house longer than I was in the house. But I was, I was at least in like 6th or 7th grade when she moved. So, I mean, I had a long while in that house, and it was a fun house. Like, I wanted to put a bid on it when it went in on the market, and it pretty much instantly was gone.
Like the house?
Yeah, like it was
Oh,
pretty
okay.
much instantly off the market.
Oh. Yeah, recurring dreams, especially when it's something that you can relate to reality, is really weird. And that, because then, say it's something in your house, for example, you end up thinking about that part of your house, and not necessarily in a bad way or good way necessarily, but it just kind of gets you thinking, and that's weird. Even, I mean, it doesn't have to be a recurring dream. It could just be a dream, one normal dream. I mean, I've had a dream where, you know, my blinds in my kitchen are broken. Like some of them. I had a dream that someone was peeking through them from the other side, and that was it. That was all the dream was. But that was enough. My dreams, I mean, my window actually is like that in reality. So I woke up and I was like, that is creepy because my blinds actually are broken like that. So I don't know. That just made me feel weird, but that's kind of all I can relate that to in my experience.
Yeah, it was definitely a worrisome kind of thing, you know.
Well, guys, this is Lucid Rain. Hope you guys enjoyed, and if you want, tell us your experiences in the comments, all 5 of you. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.